So you've been asked to be interviewed on a podcast or YouTube interview series, and now you're getting ready for the experience. You're not sure what to expect. You've come to the right place. Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson, and my YouTube channel is all about impactful communication, what that looks like in all shapes and forms, a big focus on public speaking, but also a focus on podcasting and interviewing and being interviewed. So if this is your first time to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. A ton of great video content throughout. But back to this video. It's funny because I have a video that talks about tips for podcast hosts who are about to interview somebody. I'm going to give or start off with the same tip that I give in that video, and that is to do research. Now, really, it should be the host that's doing research about you as the guest, but I also suggest as a guest, you do a little bit of research. What is this show that you're going on? What is the typical length of an episode? Is it live? Is it pre-recorded? Are there questions that they typically start off every interview asking? Is there questions that they ask at the end of every interview? Are there commercials in between? How do they intro the show? There are a lot of questions that you can be asking so that once you are being interviewed, whether it's Zoom, whether it's something like Zencastr that could be audio only, whatever the format is, you're already a bit prepared for it. You know whether video is going to be included, you know, again, if it's going to be pre-recorded or live, and that will just allow you to get into the conversation without any surprises. You're not going to be rattled probably by anything that happens because you already have a feel of how the show works, and you can really just focus on answering the questions that are asked of you. Speaking of those questions, you are more than in your rights to ask the interviewer what general topics or themes he or she is going to ask you about. Now, it's interesting because I actually tell podcast hosts to not just send a full list of questions verbatim. And as the guest, I don't think that you should over prepare. I don't think you should be writing down answers on a piece of paper or anything along those lines. But it is really helpful to know the general subjects and themes that may be discussed on the podcast so that you can be prepared. But also expect the unexpected. Sometimes hosts will hear you say something and they'll want to take the conversation in a different direction because for whatever reason, maybe they think that is an interesting way to go. And if they do that, it's tough not to freeze or get rattled, but go with the flow. They're asking you this question. If you're not an expert on something, you can say that. That's okay. You can say, well, my strength is actually in this side. I'm a little bit unfamiliar with how that works, but my general understanding is, and you can respond that way. That is totally fine. What's also possible sometimes, if it's a pre-recorded conversation and there was a question you were asked that is just way out there and your response was horrible, you can ask afterward in their post-production, in their edits, if there's a way that they can tweak that. I don't really like to suggest it because the best conversations are typically natural. But I was actually recently a podcast guest on a particular show. I was asked a question that was way out of my realm of expertise. I tried to answer it. I fumbled over it. I didn't do a great job. And afterward, I did talk to the host and I said, do you mind cropping that together, getting rid of that? I don't think I'm going to do any benefit to your audience on this answer. And they were totally fine with that. They're used to making those subtle edits anyways. My suggestion is don't go with a big list of edits that you expect, but if there's something that you're dreading or you feel is just way out there, you can put in the request. They don't have any obligation to necessarily do that, but it's a fair request to have. Otherwise, keep in mind, there are so many podcasts out there where other people have been in that situation. They haven't known the answer. There's been glitches. It hasn't been perfect, but the audience is okay with that. They are used to these types of conversations. It doesn't have to be perfectly polished. In fact, some people enjoy these conversations more because they're more raw, they feel authentic. So just go with the flow in the conversation. In terms of your setup, whether it's audio only, like a podcast, or if it's audio and video, maybe it's a YouTube series that also has a podcast, you want to be aware of what that format is and have whatever equipment you can to make it as good as possible. If you have no equipment other than a laptop, that's okay. things to be mindful of are what are your background, what is behind you, because that is what the audience will see, what you're wearing, how presentable you are. Again, if it's a formal, serious podcast, you may want to dress up accordingly. Or if it's super casual and people just hang out and they drink a beer, the host drink a beer, maybe you have a beer or something and you're like, hey, cheers, and you want to join them. Have a feel for what the format is and then use as much equipment that you have. If you can bring in good lighting or something like what I have behind me where it's like a little colorful light behind, I mean, that's going to blow away the host. That's taking it to the next level. Sometimes if you're going to be doing a few of these interviews, you may want to purchase a higher quality microphone. Right now I'm wearing a lav mic. There's also other mics that you can have, like a Yeti, which is a USB mic, which is higher quality than what your internal laptop mic is going to be, way higher quality. And so if you're going to be doing a few interviews, it may be worthwhile to up that audio, because the better quality audio, the smarter you sound. I know that sounds weird, but it's very true. Oftentimes, when people have the right equipment, even if what they're saying is base level intelligence, it sounds more intelligent just because the quality is so high. One thing you may want to be mindful of, if you have a lav mic or sometimes headphones with the microphone, if you have longer hair, longer than me, probably that applies to everyone watching this video, be careful that the hair or anything isn't rustling with the microphone, isn't hitting it, bumping into it, because that sound will be picked up. I've heard this a lot in interviews. Let's say you have a Yeti microphone. Sometimes people will be touching it or like bump it, or there will be papers brushing against it, and it's incredibly distracting. It's almost impossible to edit out. So you want to be mindful. Check with the host beforehand that your mic sounds okay, that your video quality is good, and yeah, if all of that is taken care of, you are going to crush this. You're going to do such a good job. Do your research, be prepared, not over prepared, but enjoy the process, and congratulations for being asked to be interviewed on a show. That's so cool. I hope this video brought you a little bit of value. If it did, please, please, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to continue to push out really great video content that helps you become a better, more impactful communicator. If I missed something that you think is really important for the audience to know, add it in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, add it in the comments. Just comment, like it, turn on notifications, all of that stuff. You know the drill. Thank you so much, and I hope you have an awesome day.